Hi, I'm Darcel Lobo. I own Dow Law Firm, and today we're going to talk about how to stop your foreclosure. This is specific to Washington State properties. If you're outside Washington State, your state laws or foreclosure timeline is probably different. But if you have a property in Washington State and you may be facing foreclosure, this video is going to help you understand the timeline of that process. So when someone contacts our office about a pending foreclosure, the first question we have is, how much time do you have? Where are you in that process? Have you just missed a few payments and so we still have quite a bit of time? Or is your foreclosure in 2 weeks? Right now, and it's July 2025 right now, as it currently stands, if your foreclosure is within the next 30 days, we would not be able to assist because we just have a full caseload and cannot take on something with a foreclosure that quickly. However, if it's longer out than that, then we're happy to get you on the calendar to speak with me about your options. So, as far as the foreclosure itself, it all actually starts with a document called the Notice of Trustee Sale. You may or may not know if you received this, but I'll tell you how to know if you've received it. So there's going to be a document. It's probably going to be about 6 to 8 pages long. The first page of it will say Notice of Trustee Sale, but you are going to get so many copies of this document. It's going to be posted on the property to your front door most commonly. You're going to get certified copies in the mail. You're going to get first-class copies in the mail. You're going to get a copy for you. If your spouse is on title, they're going to get a copy. Anyone who's on title is going to get a copy of this document. Again, certified and first class. And then there's going to be an extra one for like any other occupant. So you're going to receive multiple copies of this like 6, 7, or 8 page document. Again, first class mail, certified mail, and posted to the property. If you have received the Notice of Trustee Sale, the clock is ticking. Primarily before mediation. Washington State has the Foreclosure Fairness Act, where it provides mediation for homeowners to try to avoid foreclosure and save their home. And in that mediation process, you can look at, curing the mortgage, some kind of payment plan to get caught up, a loan modification, or if you can't afford to keep the home or you don't desire to keep the home, looking at a short sale to sell it to avoid foreclosure, or like a deed in lieu of foreclosure where you give the keys back to the lender. So there are a number of options, but there is a short timeline from when you get the Notice of Notice of Trustee Sale to be able to request that mediation. So if I remember, I'm going to link the website for the Foreclosure Fairness Act. Is run by the Department of Commerce here in the state of Washington, and there's a lot of resources there for you about mediation and the foreclosure timeline. So you have mediation. But outside of mediation, you may or may not have time to work on a loan modification. This is where you are essentially showing the bank that you have a financial hardship. And based on that hardship, they are modifying the terms of your loan to bring you back into a current state. They usually will give you a 3-month trial period. So if they make you an offer for a modification, they'll give you a 3-month trial. If you make those 3 payments on time, then they will permanently modify your loan. Here is the caveat with loan modifications, especially right now. If you got your mortgage loan in 2019, 2020, 2021, maybe even a little bit into 22, you need to listen up here. With the loan modification, if they offer you a modification, it is going to be at the current interest rates, which are, 6, 7%. For a lot of my clients who got their mortgage in like 2020, they have like a 3% interest rate, maybe even a little bit lower. I've seen like a 2.5, 2.75, 3. Like if you're under 4%, just know that your modification, like your payment's going to, it may not go up based on how far in default you are, but the amount of interest you'll be paying is going to increase significantly, because with the modification, most commonly they re-amortize it over like a 30-year period. So if you are 5 years into paying on your loan at 3% interest, you're going back to 30 years, if not 40 years, at 6.5% or 7%. So make sure you pay attention to those fine details in your loan modification offer. Now, for some clients, they still accept it because they don't want to lose their house, and they're so, they're far in arrears on the mortgage that they really don't have any other option. They can't refinance because their credit has really been shot because they are past due on the mortgage, and so they don't qualify to refinance. So they feel like the only option they have is to accept the loan modification, and that's fine as long as you understand and know going into it that you are paying a much higher interest rate in that modification because of the current interest rates in the market. The other option is a Chapter 13 bankruptcy. This is kind of our last case, our worst case scenario, but for a lot of clients, it's the best option for them. With a Chapter 13 bankruptcy, you are going to temporarily pause the foreclosure. Once your bankruptcy case gets approved or confirmed, then it'll permanently be canceled. In a Chapter 13 bankruptcy, you need to propose a payment plan to get back current on that mortgage. Chapter 13 bankruptcy can go for between 3 years and 5 years. So if you are past due, let's just say $60,000, over 60 months, which is a 5-year plan, the longest it can go, that'd be $1,000 a month that you are paying on top of your regular mortgage payment to get back current at the end of those 5 years. The benefit of a Chapter 13 bankruptcy is that it doesn't affect your interest rate. So you keep the same interest rate. So if you have that 3% interest rate, you get to keep it. And then you're just getting caught up on those arrears over the 60 months. Also in a bankruptcy, in a 13, you can look at selling the home if you want to just stop the foreclosure and buy yourself some time to sell the home. That's an option, but that's usually not what my clients want. They usually are looking to save their home. With bankruptcy, I get a lot of questions about Chapter 7 and why they can't file Chapter 7. Generally speaking, if you file Chapter 7 and you're facing foreclosure, you're past due in your mortgage, your home may be at risk of being sold by the bankruptcy trustee from underneath you. Once you file the Chapter 7, you really kind of lose a lot of control, whereas with the Chapter 13, you are more in control of what happens with the home and what your efforts can be to try and save it. So if you are past due in your mortgage, facing foreclosure, and you're considering bankruptcy, you really want to talk to an experienced attorney about whether you should file a Chapter 7 or a Chapter 13. I'm probably going to be advising you to do a 13 to make sure that we save your home and don't lose it, because that's my client's main goal when they come to me in that situation, is that they don't want to lose their home, right? They've worked hard for their home. Maybe they have, their family, they have kids, like they don't want to lose their home. And so we do a 13 to save the home. So talk to an attorney if you are considering bankruptcy, as far as what your options are, and if you can do a 7 or a 13. But again, you're probably looking at a 13. Okay, so that is kind of your options if the notice of trustee sale has been issued. But let's talk about, what if you're before that point? What if there is no notice of trustee sale? Oh, and with the notice of trustee sale, the biggest thing about that, on the first page, it's going to have your auction date. So that's how you know also that it's notice of trustee sale, is that if you have an auction date, then it's been issued. But let's go back. Let's talk about what happens if you are before that point in time. There is no notice of trustee sale. There is no auction date. Maybe you're 6 months behind on your mortgage. What are your options? The first thing I'm going to suggest to you is that you actually talk to the lender. Now, some lenders I know are more difficult to get a hold of than others, but I would certainly highly encourage you, contact your lender, because there can be some options available for you, especially depending on what kind of hardship you're experiencing. If it's something that's short term, then you can look at maybe doing a forbearance where they, let you not make payments for 6 months or 12 months, and you kind of pick back up after that time period's passed if you have a short term hardship. We saw a lot of these with COVID, but if there's other illness, or if you were, laid off, for if you were a seasonal worker, or you were, laid off for 60 days, 90 days, and you're going back to work at a set point in time, you might want to look at that forbearance to give you some breathing room for those number of months, and then you resume paying. If you've had more of a permanent hardship, again, maybe there's, an illness, maybe there's been a death and you've lost income in the household, or you've been, laid off, you haven't found a new job. Again, you can look at a loan modification to modify the terms, but again, as we mentioned, just be aware of what the interest rate might be on that modification. You also have the options of a bankruptcy. And so with the bankruptcy, again, you're probably looking at a 13 to look at the options to be able to save the home and get it brought back current. The biggest difference between having a notice of trustee sale or not is time. Like, how much time do you have to work through these options? A loan modification can take 60 days or 90 days to work through, depending on who your lender is. They're going to want the application, a number of documents, proof of income, bank statements, tax returns. Like, depending on who your lender is, they're going to want different things. And so that can take, 2 or 3 months just to get through that process. And so if you have not been issued with a notice of trustee sale yet, you have more time on your side to work with the lender and try to work out some kind of arrangement before you have to look at bankruptcy. But again, sometimes bankruptcy is really the best option for clients. Even though it's our last option, our last resort, it can be the best fit for clients. And so if you're in that situation, I would suggest, reach out for help. Like, reach out to an attorney to talk to them about what's going on and what your options are. You may find that you can work with the lender directly on your own. Maybe you want an attorney to help you, but the more time that you have to work on this before your auction date and a foreclosure, the better for you. If you're waiting and, sometimes clients come to us and, maybe they're, not opening the mail and kind of avoiding, and I understand it because it's really difficult and it's really scary and it's overwhelming and you're already stressed and the sleepless nights. I understand that. But the more time that I have to help you as your attorney, the more successful we can be at saving your home for you. Sometimes clients will come to me and they bring me unopened mail, and that's fine. Like, I will open it for you. So I will open it, figure out kind of what's going on, where are we in that timeline, what are your options. That's the biggest thing, that you just need to know what your options are to save your home. And again, the more time we have, the better chances are that we can save your home and get you on a plan to move forward. Again, whether it's with the bank, with a loan modification or a forbearance, or if we're looking at bankruptcy, you want to be informed on your options and you want to have time to make decisions and not be rushed at the last minute and be forced into something that you may or may not actually want. So if you need help with your foreclosure, if you're facing foreclosure but it's more than 30 days away, you are welcome to contact our office to see if we can help you, again, if the property is in Washington State. Our number is 206-408-8158. Thanks. Bye.